Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Today we are going to Chichicastenango, one of the mountain gems of Guatemala. We're going to tell you a little bit about the history and share with you some wonderful stories about Chichicastenango. But first, this is Latina Literati. The original name for Chichicastenango was Chaviar. The Spanish, when they arrive, allow their Mexica allies to use a Nahuatl word to rename the area, and they call it Chichicastenango, as we say now. In Nahuatl, it means place of nettles. So Chichicastenango is a place that is set among the mountains of the departamento or department of El Quiché. It's a town of about 80,000 people, but most importantly, it has one of the most beautiful mercados or marketplaces in all of Central America and definitely in the entire Maya world. And so we're going to visit the mercado de Chichicastenango with you and talk a little bit about the traditions of the mercado and how these are really empowering to women, because it is the women who sell their weavings, their pottery, and whole families that come to the mercado to share in the trade and also gossip. The Quiché people are a force to be reckoned with. They were not easily conquered by the Spanish, and they are very proud of their traditions, of their language, of the different celebrations that they have. They are a subgroup of the Maya people. So Guatemala is really the heart of the Maya world, El Mundo Maya. The Quiché are a large part, a very strong part that is very present in the cultural traditions. And we'll show you some of the traditional clothing and the weavings and some of the beauty of the Quiché people. Chichicastenango, or Chichi for short, the official name is San Tomás de Chichicastenango, is predominantly Maya Quiché. In the last census, 98% of the people spoke Maya Quiché, which is a huge, huge amount. And so to be in an indigenous, a native town, to celebrate, to see all of the beautiful handicrafts that are prepared in the area is just a really special way to spend a day. The market days for Chichicastenango are Thursday and Sunday. So if you're in Guatemala and plan to go to Chichi, you should plan on going on one of those special days. Here you can see a young woman in a traditional Chichicastenango outfit. Very, very detailed, and those weavings last for generations and they are passed down from mother to daughter. These are ancient weavings. We know that for at least 10,000 years, our people, the Maya people, have been weaving and have been trading the weaving and other pottery and other things made in areas like Chichicastenango. Mercados are also very, very old traditions. They're pre-conquest. So for thousands of years, indigenous people, the Maya, come together to trade, to catch up on news, to celebrate harvests, to plan events. And so there is a festive air to the mercados. There's an energy here that you can feel. And so being in the mercado, and one of the largest mercados in the Maya world, in Chichicastenango, is just a wonderful, wonderful time and just a celebration for the senses. There is so much color. There's a vibrancy to all of the different things that you get to see and watch and learn in places like the Mercado de Chichicastenango. The Quiché, the Maya Quiché traditions are very much alive in Chichicastenango, and and you have the wise elders, Akik y Job, these wise elders that live in town and are sought for counsel, and they also help the people interpret the sacred Mayan calendar, the Mayan Cholquil. And so auspicious days are identified for celebrations or special events. And also, this is a traditional way to come together to solve problems. So these wise men live in town and are sought for their counsel. There is a real syncretism of the Maya traditions, the religious traditions, and those of the conquest. So syncretism is when different belief systems come together. And you see that in the Church of San Tomas. You see the Catholic altar and you see the Mayan altar. And you see traditional Mayan Quiche religious rituals being offered right there in the Catholic Church. So it's really interesting. There are 14 cofradías, or religious groupings, in Chichi, and traditionally these are the ones that hold the different celebrations throughout the year. And so it's an honor to be part of the cofradía, or the group that plans different sacred celebrations. And so different families usually belong to different cofradías, and they come out to kind of compete against each other with the wonderful displays that they have of the different music and dancing and presentations. Above Chichi, there are sacred sites to the Maya Quiche, where if you can find a guide and if you're invited to attend, you can see traditional Mayan offerings and celebrations as well. And if you can, I highly recommend it because it gives you a completely different perspective on the religious beliefs, offerings, and daily rhythm of the Quiche people. So visiting a thriving Mayan town like Chichicastenango is just an amazing way to support local artisans. You can see the thriving Mayan communities, and it's a way of what I would call thoughtful tourism, really looking at ways to support local farmers, local artisans, staying at locally owned hotels. It's really a way of helping as you learn and as you pass through these tourist destinations. And now for my favorite part of the video, the book recommendations. So these books are set in Guatemala, and they are books about different young people. And the first is called When the Sky Turns in Its Sleep by Sylvia Cedars Garcia. And it's the story of a young man who is brought to the United States as a very young boy, and his parents never speak of why they left Guatemala. And so as he grows, he wants to understand why they left their town, what happened, and he eventually comes back to his town in Guatemala and starts to discover why his parents left. I'll just give you a hint. The Civil War, lots of massacres, lots of reasons to leave. And so he starts to uncover the layers of what no one will speak about in the U.S. So it's a good read, and I recommend it. And as always, check your bookstore, your local library. We always leave in the description box below links so that you can purchase these books, new and used, from independent booksellers. The next book I found fascinating. It is called The Taste of Many Mountains by Bruce Wittick. And what happens when a group of researchers want to track coffee from the bean where it is grown in the mountains, the volcanic soils of the tropical countries like Guatemala, all the way to the cup. And so what does that process look like? What does it mean? And so this group of researchers went and took a look at what farmers go through, what their processes are, what is it that they do to bring that cup of coffee to you every day. And so it's quite interesting. I'll just give you a hint. In the past, basically countries like the Central American countries were dictated to by U.S. corporations. This is what we need, this is what you should be planting. Things like quinine during the Second World War. It was mandated by the U.S. that all of Central America produce quinine against malaria for the troops fighting in Asia. coffee was introduced, and then it was set as kind of one of the top export products for many countries. Unfortunately, then something called the International Coffee Agreement is done away with because the U.S. walks away from it, which means that the basic or minimum price just falls, and prices have never recovered. So there are many, many, many things that farmers confront when trying to bring you that cup of coffee that you may not know about, and it may be of interest to you to see that line, that huge, how many hands touch the beans and the process for you to have that cup of coffee. And so I recommend it, and I hope you come to a new appreciation of what has been called really a luxury good, the amount of time and processes and care with which all of that is brought to your cup every day. So thank you so much for this joint journey, for coming to the end of the video. We would love you to subscribe to Latina Literati, and we'd love to hear from you. Where are you traveling? What are you doing? What books do you recommend? We love to hear recommendations from you. So thank you, and as always, con mucho cariño, mucho salud y mucho amor. Gracias.